Believers. I made a video called Society Explained with Cards. In that video, I've used play cards of a regular cards game to explain how society works. Now there's something I want to further explain to you about the scapegoat mechanism. Because to many people, the scapegoat mechanism simply means you blame someone for something that they didn't do or something they can't be at fault for. Well, it goes much further than that. Because you can blame anyone for anything. You don't need any proof or evidence for it, because that's why it's a false accusation. You can blame anyone for anything. If someone comes from Australia and they never been in Africa before, and they're there, and you need someone to blame for something that goes wrong in the community, you can blame that guy. Even if he has no relationship whatsoever to what happened. So to blame someone for something they didn't do or something they can't be at fault for, it's very easy. But here's the thing, just blaming someone out of the blue is not believable. It's not convincing. The scapegoat mechanism is a spell done on the community. So the community is blinded from seeing what's really going on. So let me give an example. Let's say you have a village, and in that village you have 3 women who were pregnant and they both had a miscarriage. They lost their baby, and this is a tragedy for the community. Really, for the fathers of those children, for the mothers who lost their babies, for the families. So let's say this happens 1 year, and the next year there are 9 pregnant women to lose their babies, and the next year again. You have newcomers in the town, like you have 12 pregnant women, 3 of them lose their baby. So now, after the 3rd year, people know, hold on a minute, why do pregnant women keep having miscarriages around here? So what should be done is the population must look at the constitution of the village, saying, okay, how many people live in this village? Well, around 400 people. Okay, there were newcomers came in. So it can be the newcomers, because it was going on before newcomers arrived. Let's look at the diet of the women. What did they eat? What's their domestic violence in place? Was it total violence in lost their baby? Physical violence? Oh, there's no physical violence. Oh, and the diet is healthy. So then the people in the village must recognize, hold on a minute, there's something around here that causes women to stress out and lose their babies. And then they realize, hold on a minute, the unhealthy attachments that we have as a community over here causes tension, and this energetic tension causes accidents, because there are also a lot of accidents happening in that village besides miscarriages. And then we realize, oh, so it's us as a population generating this energetic field, and this energetic field haunts us. It haunts us and it harms us. So what needs to happen then is that they need to cleanse themselves from this cloud of negative energy, and to do that permanently, they must become born again, renewed in their mind, and walk by faith, so that they operate in true Christ-centered positivity. But what if you have witches and warlocks in that village that worship Satan, and they don't want people to walk in righteousness? Because you have clients of those witches and warlocks who are businessmen who benefit from the toxicity of the people. You have people that became rich at the expense of the population that lives in that village. So they want to retain the toxicity of the village so they can make money off of it. And the witches and warlocks just want relief. They don't want any challenges, so they also want to keep the toxicity around, but they don't want to ruin the toxicity. If there's toxicity, there will be ruin. So what do? They transfer the ruin onto someone. And here's the thing, you don't actually have to blame someone to do that. Let's say in that village, there's this 16-year-old girl. So let's call her Lisa. And Lisa, one day goes to a party, and at the party, people conduct some witch ceremony on her, unbeknownst to her. They give her some, not poison, but give her some pill and some drinks that make her unconscious. And once she was unconscious, people began to look at her. A whole group of people began to meditate negatively upon her. All their pain, all their hurt were meditating mentally on her. This caused a wound in her energy field and later also wounded her body. So since that day, she's been weaker in her physical health. And because of that, she became a magnet to all the toxic energetic field of the village. So she developed mental illness, she became more physically sick, and eventually she had a cancerous infection in her body that slowly killed her within 2 years. So throughout those 2 years that she had this cancerous infection, she was absorbing all the ruin of the village. So since she was sick, there were no miscarriages, no accidents anymore. In this case, nobody blamed her for anything. But what if she dies now? Then people say, well, either becomes an excuse saying this was she was predestined for this by the gods, or they would say, well, she had an unhealthy lifestyle, so then they will come with the blame after she dies. But while the scapegoating was going on, there was no actual blame directly. It was a transference of ruin onto someone. And by doing this, the population doesn't have to face itself to realize what's really going on here. So now, the toxicity is still around, but the ruin is redirected to a victim. That's why everyone else had ease. So there's a deception. The people that in that village think they are healthy, they're happy, that they're all right, even though they're not. So scapegoating is a spell. Scapegoating is putting a spell on the population to blind them from noticing they need God. As long as they don't notice they need the Most High, they think they're fine without the Most High. They think they can live life without relying on God. They think they can rely on their own understanding. So it's a trick of the enemy to withhold blessings from a population. So it's not just about the victim that's being butchered or killed. It's about keeping the community in the dark. So when you have the happy joker and the sad joker, the happy joker is the celebrity. That's an individual that's overwhelmed with luxury by the community, so that the community doesn't have to face the fact that they've been harming that other joker, the sad one. That's the victim. So you have the victim that's wounded by the community, and as a result, the victim sucks up the ruin of the community that's produced by the community, and then you have the happy scapegoat or the happy joker that's overwhelmed with luxury, and everyone begins to praise and look up to the happy joker, and they forget all about the ruin that they produce collectively that's now pushed onto the victim. So scapegoating is a spell. Don't fall for it. Be at peace.